it seems like there's a lot of kind of complicated information in there. So I don't want to spend a lot of time trying to figure out what everything is. I just want to figure out what the important things are. And so the way I do that is I actually look at the questions. So as I'm reading over these questions, before I even read the passage, I'm going to look down and read over our questions. And I'm going to be annotating on my annotation sheet, like what information I'm going to need when I go back and read. So for example, question 20, it says to write a testable question. So TQ, testable question, what information do I need? Well, I know that I need independent variable and I need dependent variable. And I can get a head start because we have a sentence stem. So before I even read anything, I can write out what is the effect of blank on blank. And then I can just fill in those blanks as I find them. All right, so then we go on 21. Ask us to make a hypothesis, right? So hypothesis, I know also independent variable and dependent variable. And I know hypothesis is if, then, because, right? Well, I already know independent variable and dependent variable because I'm going to find them in number 20, right? Okay, so then I can just fill that in. So we go on, 22, right? 22 has a data table. Right? And it tells me that I'm going to need to make a graph. And right away I think to myself, like, hey, wait a minute. Like if I'm going to be putting this on the graph, I'm going to need to be putting some variables on there.
Come on.
So maybe I can use the data table to find hints for my independent variable and dependent variable.
Come on.
Right? So that might be something that I look at when we go back to number 20. Even though it's after number 20, it's from the same information. And then our last one, 23, says to use the graph. So I'm going to have to actually do my graph before I answer question 23. And it's looking for cause and effect. So I know that I'm going to need to compare before something and after something. So now I have all my thoughts organized. I know exactly what I need to do. And it looks like 3 questions. If I know independent variable and dependent variable, I'm either done with or on my way to be done with 3 of these 4 questions just with 2 pieces of information.
Come on.
Right? So now I can look through really quickly and see where is it talking about the variables? What is changing? What are they measuring? What are they trying to test? Right? So I read through the first part, right? Okay, it's setting up background information, right? It's not really talking about a whole lot of stuff. It says they weigh, they're measuring things, they're identifying things, like, okay, we're good. We go down to our second passage. They want to figure out force of natural selection, okay, right? Still nothing about what variables they're testing, what they're trying to figure out, right? Third paragraph, so talking a lot about seeds, so maybe food has to do with something, right? Then they're talking about beaks, the bigger beaks and smaller beaks, all right? So then after rain, so there's some kind of change here, right? And now they're talking about also, right, the different seeds that are available after. And right here, they're talking about collecting the following data about sizes of the beaks found before and after the drought. So it's not really clear. It doesn't come out and tell me that these are what's going on, but these are the 2 things, something about beak size and something about like a drought, something about changing, right? So I mentioned in my annotations that maybe we can look at our data table to get some clues about independent variable and dependent variable. So I go down here and I said it's like something to do with beak size and something to do with about a drought. And so here we have beak size and here we have before and after a drought, right? So what are they showing here? They're showing like the number of birds. So maybe like survival. So then we can go back and we can look, all right? We definitely know that we have the size of the beaks and we know that we have like a drought, some kind of like environmental effect, right? So we can say, what is the effect of a drought on finch beak size? Right? So now we have our variables, we have our independent variables, and we have our dependent variables, right? So then we can go on to write our hypothesis, right? So if, then, and so I think like probably through the thought process, I would probably stop the modeling. I think, I might stop the modeling after looking through the data table and then have students write their own testable question and then do some show call with different testable questions. And then like repeat that process for hypothesis. So like we have our question now, like let's go ahead and use the same information to write our hypothesis. Because really like question 20 and question 21 are so similar that like it's almost like giving kids another rep at writing a testable question if we're writing a hypothesis.
But you talked about earlier that even if kids, even on down the line where they have to create their graph, question 20, question 21, and 22, all three talk about independent, dependent variables.
Exactly.
So by the time you get to question 20, whatever, about the data table, about the graph, at least you can get points just by knowing what the variables are and on your graph where to plot them.
Yeah.
So like now we're at the point where we got to create the actual a new reteach lesson. And I think right now, even with this video, could be a resource that scholars